Thank you, Andrin Kilemi, for that story. Now, more than 200 senior secondary schools have experienced some form of unrest in recent weeks, from strikes and dormitory fires to destruction of property. The government has responded with a raft of measures, including a review of the school calendar and the formation of a task force to investigate the root causes. But is that enough? And what will it take to ensure our children are safe, settled and learning? Joining me now is Boaz Waruku, Policy and Strategy Advisor at Elimu Bora Working Group, one of Kenya's leading education advocacy organization. Mr. Waruku.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us.
Great.
Now, the CS says the situation in school is largely under control, with 98% of schools operating normally. From your perspective on the ground and as a stakeholder, what is the mood like in our schools right now?
Thank you very much. First, it is good to appreciate that the CS has actually done a great job by coming out to openly articulate a few issues. He's been hiding, so to say. And now that he has come out, I think he should now face the facts. He should also not engage on a panic mode, because that seems to be the issue currently that is being witnessed. Because some of the issues he's raising, I think, are really not tackling the core facts, the causative issues to this unrest that we are witnessing. For instance, you know, the trigger was the Utumishi Academy fire. And if you trace the trigger, then you realize those were just symptoms of underlying factors. And some of these are the elements of how the school constructions are, you know, those safety standards and protocols which are not adhered to, the congestion that the children themselves there were facing, and probably some lack of listening ear from the administration, from the school there. And I think we are also connecting this to the fact that it appears our officers from the Ministry of Education who have been visiting schools seem not to have been visiting and inspecting this infrastructure as well. So ideally, I think for us, we nailed it and said the policy enforcement is very weak. And that is where we wanted to start from. In fact, Elimu Bora called out, if the CS was listening, he should have resigned when we lost those 16 children. And the PS has now been tossed aside. A new person brought on board, but even before then they could settle and agree. Already you're seeing that is already issuing what he thinks should be done.
Quick one. Will changing the calendar alone be enough to address the growing cases of school unrest?
The calendar was changed barely 6 years ago. This is the time that all schools, we know that even the calendars, or after the corona period, the reorganization of the calendar, even creating the mandatory midterm breaks, because previously those never used to be there. So the mandatory midterm breaks and the fact that you have a determinate, a clear kind of a calendar right from January to the end, thinking that that is the problem, I think could be looking for scapegoats. I would rather...
So according to you, what do you think is the problem, and what's the root cause of the unrest?
I think the problems which have been identified very clearly is, one, there are congestions in schools. There are congestions in schools. And because of the congestions, even those in the boarding facilities, you realize now they are rammed in there, many in number. We have to address that very, very urgently. Two, with that congestion, then even the conditions within the schools are deteriorating. You can imagine even where they are getting their meals. There are some schools that have converted even some classes into dormitories, and then now congesting even more of these learners into the remaining classroom. Those are issues which should be addressed. There are also the aspect of the teachers really getting overwhelmed, because I'll put it to you, you know, this grade 10 curriculum is not an easy thing. The delivery of that curriculum with the kind of subjects or the learning areas as they are put. It's not an easy thing, and this is the first time that it's beginning. And to many schools, because we have been doing some of these surveys, we did actually survey to check the level of preparedness by those schools to receive the grade 10. And we realized that even some of the infrastructure, which was a big problem, some of the infrastructure not necessarily ready for them. The teachers themselves, because some of the learning areas are somewhat new. Because you've seen in the STEM pathway, you've seen in the art and sports, because people think art and sports, for example, is just about running and playing soccer. It's not.
So ideally, what I'm gathering from you is that the ministry should be prioritizing infrastructure and students' welfare as opposed to changing the school calendar.
They should be doing that. But also, I'd have expected that the CS remains restrained and does not just state this idea of forming another task force, because many task forces have been formed, for instance. There are many recommendations which are there, which they just need to clean and put together and implement. And also, this is, if you want to have further consultations, I think start with the technocrats at the ministry. You've just got a new PS. As a Limobora, we are doing a memorandum, a comprehensive one, to tell them where they need to start from. In fact, for us, because we feel that the CS should have gone with the PS so that we have two new people that you can sit down with and so tell them what exactly they need to address.
Have you as a stakeholder, the parents and teachers, have you been consulted towards this?
Up to now, no consultation has been, we have not even received any kind of communication in terms of this. And I think the first things first, the parents and who are holding their children at home. It is not easy to have children at home when others are in school. Two, the parents who have lost their loved ones, they're also struggling to get what are the issues really, what were the causes, and others are going to school. So many things are happening. And indeed, you see the CS is on a panic mode. He should be the one calming the public, calming the parents, calming the learners. So ideally from now henceforth, probably he just needs to have that quick consultation with the technocrats, but also to rely on sound advice, because some of the stakeholders here really give sound advice. At times they just do not want to follow the line.
Yes, if implemented, will the review affect the number of learning days in a school calendar?
It should not. Yes. It should not, because they actually, with the calendar that CBC is carrying on board, it is a heavy workload. It is heavy workload, and it is intense. It requires the learner to learn the theory, to get to the practical, to practice, that kind of a thing, and continuously being checked by the teacher to ensure that the learning is taking place. It is not the same way as it used to be. So this requires a little bit of more rigor and more coordination, but also in an environment where there's some openness, and that even when the learners express themselves, I think we should also not be using the draconian tactics of thinking that whenever they express themselves, they're just up to some mischief. No, not necessarily. There are certain things that they could be raising, which you can listen to it. And the school administration infrastructure should be able to help us in dealing with that.
Just a quick follow-up on that. What role should the parents play in addressing the causes of school unrest during holiday periods?
Definitely the children are with them, and they are telling them they must explore what are the costs involved. Because, for instance, right now, even taking the child back home is an extra cost. There are certain schools that have even said now they don't want those children back without clearing fees. These are additional things. In other words, the environment for negotiation is being spoiled by these unrests. So I think the parents need to candidly discuss with their children. Also, because peer pressure has also been seen as part of the causes of this. They should be able to learn from their parents that when you go to learn as a student, I think focus and know that you're there as an individual, do the right thing, don't easily get influenced. And of course, there are drugs issues which have also been. Nowadays, I think the society is so guilty because the drugs that are surrounding most of our learning institutions are so much, and they come in different style. The Interior Ministry probably should be coordinating more closely with the Ministry of Education to stamp out the alcohol, the drug issues, and all that. And maybe before you move on, and perhaps this should be our final question because we are out of time. A multi-stakeholder team has been formed to look into the root causes of student unrest. What would you want to see on that team agenda and to make it very effective? Even before that team is formed, can the technocrats within the ministry do their job? Because the reports they have there are more than adequate to inform what actions need to be taken. Once that is done, because they could come back and say, oh, this thing requires rapid infrastructure development, because that is one of the things which must be focused on. It would require rapid teacher recruitment and deployment at the senior school level, because we've been focusing on the junior school for the teacher recruitment. Even there, we have not really nailed it because the interns are still struggling. They have not been converted as well. So there are certain things which they may, after interrogating all those recommendations, probably that's when they need to have this consultation in a very open way, where if you go there and give your opinion, you're not seeing as somebody who is against what the government wants to implement. Because right now, as a Limobora, we want what is right for these children. Nothing.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Oroko. Unfortunately, because in the interest of time, we have to cut the interview. We are stressed for time. Thank you so much for your insights. And as discussion on the proposed changes continue, maybe we'll be watching to see whether they can help create a more stable learning environment in our schools. Thank you so much for your time and your insights as well.
Thank you very much.